Please help me welcome J Loren Norris.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders TV, and I want you to know that when you have a process, any kind of process in your business, in your leadership, that process becomes a powerful tool. But that process has to be clearly articulated. I mean, it's got to be well defined and then clearly articulated. When you have a well-defined and clearly articulated process, then you can find a path to repeated success. Now, I learned this recently from a guy by the name of Brandon Dawson, who in my imagination is an absolute brilliant businessman. He's bought and sold and managed and led and consulted multi-million dollar, 150, 400 million, $500 million companies all over the world. I have not done that yet. So what that tells me as a leader is he knows something I don't know, and I need to learn what he's learned. So I'm going to take one piece of what I learned from him recently, and I'm going to pass that on to you in this episode of Leading Leaders. I want you to think for a minute what it's like when you have 5 people on your team. Not 105, not 95, just 5. Those 5 people on your team are trying to accomplish desirably one goal, one vision. Now, there are multiple aspects of getting that vision done. Whatever that vision is, it may be as big as moving the earth. It may be as small as we just need to get this project car finished. But whatever that vision is, there are tasks to be performed along the way. Here's the real question when you've got a team of 5 or 10 or 105 people. How do you know who's doing what task? Usually assignments. How many of those tasks will be done again? Well, if you're working on one project car, or you're working on one document, say it's a report or an end-of-year report, or one research project, chances are slim that those processes, those systematized steps, will be exactly the same again and again and again. Well, because you're in one project, and so once a thing is done, you're moving on to the next thing, and that thing doesn't have to be done again. But when you're leading a large company, leading a large team, leading a large organization, the tasks that you do every day are every day. And I want you to think for a moment what the power of Henry Ford's idea of the assembly line really brought to the automotive. It wasn't that it was a better car or a better built car necessarily. In fact, his variety said you can have any color you want as long as it's black, because there wasn't a whole lot of variation to what they did. And that was really the genius. In fact, if you look back at Ray Kroc and McDonald's, the idea of serving fast food rather than real dishes and linen cloths in a drive-through window, the fast food, the idea that the hamburger was ready as fast as you ordered it, they could give it to you before you walked away from the window, that was a brilliant idea of the McDonald's brothers. But franchising it and making that assembly line even faster, that was Ray Kroc's genius. Well, the combination of those two geniuses made a now almost 100-year-old franchise phenomenally successful and one of the most recognized names in the entire world. What was it that they did that made that the truth? What was it that made the Ford Motor Company last over 100 years and be one of the most recognized names in the world as well? If you're thinking to yourself, what does my leadership, what does my business have in any remote fashion that's similar to those two big brand names? Well, the truth is, what you have is a series of steps that you do on a regular basis. There's a name for that. It's called a process. Now, maybe in your business, that process is lead generation and follow up with your new potential clients and onboarding them into the process and walking them through the process of whatever it is that you do to serve them. Maybe it's plumbing, maybe it's HVAC, maybe it's one-on-one coaching and consulting, which is what I spend the majority of my time doing. But if there's not a process from hi stranger to thank you, I'll take your check, if there's not a process there, then the chances are you're not successfully moving through that stage from hi stranger to thank you, I'll take your check now. And the reason that you're not is because you don't have a process. But once you have a process, you have to know that whether it's you and a partner or you and 5 people or you and 500 people, there's something about the process that works. There's something about the way Ray Kroc and Henry Ford used a process of making a hamburger or building a car to finish the system of the process faster. And that's what I'm going to tell you today, and you need to take notes on this if you're interested in growing beyond where you are. Now, I can tell you, as a fact in my own life, there are days that I fall outside of the process. I don't get up at the same time, do the same things. I sleep in because I had a late night or I worked overnight writing on a book or something of that nature, editing video. And I'm just like, I'm lazy, I'm not getting up early. And on those days, what I find is that my energy level seems a little out of sync. The whole world seems a little out of sync for that process. But here's what I know more than that. There are people who kind of rely on my process, just like there are in your life. They're counting on you to be doing a certain thing at a certain time, to behave in a particular way, to be in a certain mood, to have your brain engaged in certain things at a given time. Are you done with your coffee? Have you had your quiet time? Have you had your meditation time? Have you been to the gym? Whatever it is you do first thing early in the morning. And they expect you by 7 or 8 o'clock to be on your game. And when they call at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 9:45, 9:55, 9:58, 9:59, 10 o'clock, and you're not ready for the meeting yet, it really throws their day in a mess. Why? Because they counted on you to be in the process. Here's something else I know about the process. If you can't articulate what your process is, you probably don't have one. If you can't articulate what your process is, you're probably struggling with the success that you want to have. If you can't articulate what your process is, how will you ever tell somebody else so they can imitate it? And why would you want to do that? Well, the power of the process is mind-boggling when you realize what it is and what it does.
Owner's new protection against inflation. If you enjoy sharing health insights and helping others live their healthiest lifestyle possible, you can create wealth for yourself and your family by doing what you love to do every day. Call 469-939-8933. Discover how to incorporate additional financial revenue into your love of health and wellness and the work you're already doing, using your time wisely and leveraging networks you already work with. Ready to learn more? Join the Wellness Institute's Carola Bradas, subject of the book, Look Beyond Tomorrow, to help even more people realize their potential and achieve their health goals. Build a side business with products sourced in North America and protect your bottom line. Call 469-939-8933 today. That's 469-939-8933. Call now. The OBBM Network is the premier voice for local business, and we take that responsibility seriously. The OBBM Network has everything you need to grow and transition your business for success on popular syndicated podcast networks, Roku and other video channels, and the OBBM Network app. We work for you, local business, and we've got your back.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. When a leader has a clearly defined, and well-articulated process, when any business has a clearly defined and well-articulated process, that process has this power. If I know that starting the day looks like going through all of the inbound calls and inbound emails that came in overnight, and that customer service needs to pounce on some of them, and operations needs to pounce on some of them, and finance needs to pounce on some of them, maybe checks to bring in or bills to pay out. Every one of those items gets dispatched and dealt with properly. Now, knowing that that process happens, i.e. mail distribution starts at 6 a.m. so that when everybody else is sitting at their desk at 8 a.m., they already have their work cut out for them. They know exactly what they're supposed to be doing in the first couple of hours of the day before they take the first coffee break at 10. That process allows me then to say, at 10 a.m. when I see everybody in the break room, I might say, hey, any big issues we need to know about from a customer service standpoint? No, sir, everything's on target. Anything we need to know about from an operations standpoint? Anybody we need to send out, repairs we need to do, new items that we need to purchase or secure in order to get the job done? Nope, we're all on target. Excellent. How about bills payable? Anybody that needs something else that we haven't provided you to get that done? Oh, yeah, by the way, we forgot that we had to do this and now it's late and blah. Great. But see, the process is what allowed us to figure out where in the day to have that checkpoint. It could be 5 minutes of question and answer in the middle of a coffee break, and nobody's put out except the persons who are not following the process. If that mail was on their desk to be delivered, email, phone messages, or digital mail, whatever it was, physical mail, big giant packages, if that was on their desk at 8 a.m. and they knew that they were supposed to dive into it, and they didn't, now you can begin to see where the wheels are coming off within the process, because the process is identifying that. Now, the purpose of a well-defined and clearly articulated process is what we call the model. The model is when you can look at it and say, a big team of 5,000 people doing the same job that we do, this is how they get it done. If we are going to launch a hamburger place and we want to be able to have a giant name like McDonald's one day, maybe we don't want to do it exactly like them, but by golly, they've got something figured out that not everybody has. Hamburger places open and close every day. And by close, I mean close the doors, lock them, and sell the building. Every day, because they want to reinvent the wheel and not do it the way that the people who've been successful have done it. If you look at a McDonald's or an In-N-Out Burger or a Chick-fil-A, they have a process. It's called a model for a reason. It's the one that everybody looks at to go, oh, I see how that works. Let me do what everybody else that's doing it well is doing. When Brandon Dawson talks about this, he calls it the 4 M's. So I'm going to give you just my view on those 4 M's really quick. And I want you to think about this. Again, if you're a note taker, this is a good time to be taking notes. I know you're watching TV, you probably got your feet up, you're relaxed, you're not thinking about it, but right now, this would be a good time to take notes if you're running or starting a small business. Those 4 M's look like model. Now, we've been talking about that for the last 10 minutes or so. What does it mean to model? Well, it means to create a process that everybody can see, clearly articulated, well-defined, because that's what leads to repeatable success. Sometimes your model is going to be bigger than your business. Your model is going to be bigger than your team. Why? Well, because the whole goal of a modeled process that works really well is to find somebody doing it better than you so that you can grow into that greater level of success. You don't want to model what you're already doing unless it's already grandly successful. And if it is, you already have a process. And you've already begun to model that process so that other people can go, oh, I see what you did there. That worked really well. Let me do the same thing. Now, once you've internally created that model and you've defined and repeated that process again and again, and other people are catching on and they're like, oh, I like the way you do that. I think I'll try the same thing. Now you've moved into the second M of the 4 M's, and that is to mimic. We don't want to mimic people who have created train wrecks and disasters. We want to mimic people who've created success. If they model it in a process that's well-defined and well-articulated, well, then it should be easy for us to follow it. If you have a routine in your life, it's a great example to your partner, to your offspring, to your siblings. It's a great example to the people that you lead at work. It's a great example to the organization. If you have your own process, if you have your own regimen, if you have a way of doing things that has led you to be the successful leader that you are, other people are watching you and they're thinking, well, why don't I just do what they did? It would be so much easier to do what they did rather than figure it out on my own. Let me tell you this too. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that I've run into. They don't want to do it like everybody else. They're convinced, thoroughly convinced, they've got a new way and their new way is a better way. Most of them will succeed for a short time, like a flash in the pan, and within a year or two, they'll be right back to working for someone else. Why? Because there's a really clear distinction between models that work and ideas that don't. Ideas that don't work don't become models worth repeating. Ideas that don't work don't become models that get mimicked by others. But when they begin in your organization to mimic the model that you've created, they've watched your regimen, they've seen it happen on a regular basis, they know every time they do that, every time the leader does that, and we follow suit, success follows. Now they begin to take that on themselves, and there will be some personalization of that model. They might not get up and go to the gym and spend 25 minutes on the treadmill. They might get up and go to the gym and spend 25 minutes in an aquatics class. But the fact that they took that first step to take care of themselves first, that's enormous. For a lot of people, that's a complete paradigm shift of the life they've been living up to now. And if you've allowed people, caused people, created in them a reason to shift, you have already brought massive change to their life, which will lead then to repeated success. Now, here's the key. They've got to be able to master that shift. Not just recognize it once or twice, not go, oh yeah, I went to the gym on Monday. Man, that was hard. And by Wednesday, they've thought, I'd rather go to the donut shop on my mornings than to go to the gym. Well, they're obviously not going to see the effect. In fact, they'll probably see a counter effect over the time. And the reason that they're doing that is because they're not able to master the model that they mimicked. They couldn't master the model that they mimicked. Maybe it's a personality style. Maybe it's a lifestyle issue. Maybe it's a series of choices. Maybe they're in a small business looking at your large business going, we just can't keep up. We don't have the funds. We don't have the personnel. We don't have the tools. We don't have the assets. But if they have the aspiration to follow the model that you've proven successful, to mimic what you're doing in every way that they possibly can, and to master at least the part that they can do well, then repeatable success is available to them, and it will come very shortly.
How long has it been since you've updated your brand or restocked your promotional items? The more often people see your company logos and taglines, the more often your company comes to mind. That top-of-mind thinking is exactly what grows businesses and generates revenues. So at Big Feet Creations, I've dedicated my time and talent for over 30 years designing and illustrating print and digital products that people love and remember. Now we're adding website design and audio-video editing too. Call Big Feet Creations at 469-450-7350. I'm a big guy, and I've taken big steps to help you grow big. Big Feet Creations, 469-450-7350. Call today. That's 469-450-7350.
Hi, welcome to Heroes in Action. I'm Ray Almanat, founder and creator of this training system. I originally made it so that everyone can train for free. We have programs for kids, for women, families, and businesses. I'm an author, speaker, and educator on everything that has to do with violence and bullying prevention education. If you'd like more information about who we are and what our programs are, please go to our website at heroesinaction.us or give me a call if you have any questions at 727-314-2534. We hope to see you here to train.
Loren is a master teacher on storytelling, and I learned so much. I'm really going to have to sit down and go back through everything, and I think I might have to have some more coffees with Loren, but it was totally worth my time, and I really highly recommend it if you're looking to grow your ministry, grow your business, grow your career. Loren will serve you well.
Thank you. Look, if you have created a process, documented it well, defined it well, articulated it well, that process now has a model. And within that model, you have identified the things that you need to do on a regular basis. You've systematized your day. You've systematized everything that needs to get done so that you can do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again. And as you do that, people around you will begin to say, hey, that's working really well for them. I think I'll try the same. And as they mimic what you're doing, they'll begin to personalize some of that and master it. And they may follow a very similar process, or they may follow the process to a T because that's what you've asked of them. Once they begin to take it on themselves and master that, now you have the final M in the 4 M's. And that is the ability to multiply. You have just reproduced your effectiveness in your organization. Now, I'm not saying you want a bunch of clones. That's not always a good thing. But you want a bunch of people who look at the system that is working for you, the process that's working for you, and they're doing the things that work well, and they're doing them again and again and again and again. As you see that, and those people begin to master the tools, the tricks, the techniques, the shortcuts, the conversations, the conversions, the sales, the product and service delivery, as they do that again and again and again, it becomes very easy to get right. It becomes very easy because you get in the habit of doing it right. Now what you thought was retraining another employee becomes almost as infectious as a virus. I say the only thing on earth more contagious than the common cold is an attitude. And I'm going to put right up there with an attitude this process of modeling what your process should be, mimicking what that process should be, mastering that process, and then multiplying. See, what doesn't happen is you don't have to spend all your time training 3 new people. You don't have to go out there and find new people to bring in on board and say, okay, let's start this whole thing over again. No, what happens is it becomes infectious. 2 or 3 people on your executive team begin to model exactly what you're doing. They begin to mimic it. They begin to master it. And then suddenly the people who are watching them go, I like that model. I like what Tom is doing. I love what Cindy's doing. I love the way Cindy is. Man, she has just gone from barely anybody knowing who she is to she's an executive. Now that is incredible. What is she doing? She has mastered what you have modeled. And guess what? Now she's a model. And everybody on the team is looking at Cindy and they're looking at Tom and they're going, I want to reach that level of success. I want the same financial goals, the 3-week vacation, whatever the benefits are. I want the opportunity. I want the chance to go out and launch my own business just like this under your advisement. How do I do that? Well, you find the model that's working. You mimic the model that's working until you've reached the level of mastery and other people are now mimicking you. At that point, you have multiplied yourself. And if we need to spin you off and start your own company under our tutelage, we will do it because it's going to bring great opportunity for you and for me. Now, as a leader, you know that the greatest compliment is when someone imitates you. They say that flattery is the greatest form of a compliment. I want you to know as a leader, when you have a process in your own life, your personal study time, your quiet time, your thinking chair time, all of those things are going to be a huge impact in who you are and what you represent to the world. All of those things are also models to be mimicked, to be mastered, and to be multiplied by others. And if you want to make an impact in the world, my friend, that is the way that you can do it. Take the time to model a life that other people can mimic. Give them the opportunity under your tutelage to master that. Help them out when they need that. And then they will become models themselves and they will multiply the effect of what you have done well. Take the time in your business and your leadership to do that. If you want to make an impact in the world, that is a very good way to do it. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders TV for OBBM Network Television. Have a blessed day.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.